So we just went over how there's a replication issue with software in this with scientific studies. So now we have yet another problem, and I've already kind of touched on this earlier on a previous Daily Tech News stream. I believe it was last week. The one of the things that I covered last week was how the medical scientific field is being bombarded by LLM generated studies. Okay. So I put that in quotes because the studies are not very good. We covered that the number of studies in 2020 for particular portions of the medical field were around 4 in total. The number of studies in 2024 was around 196. I can't remember which niche of the medical field it was, but it was last week in one of the Daily Tech News streams. And what they found was that a lot of these studies only focus in on particular factors, one or two elements of an entire more holistic view that should have been taken as part of the study, and they are overconfident in their conclusions, and so forth and so on. All the things that LLMs do terribly are all included in the outcomes of what's contained in these medical studies. And then what happens is it clogs up the machine, the peer review machine, because there's so many studies that have to be reviewed, peer reviewed, and because most of them now are AI generated, they're all crap. And in some cases, what'll happen is people will just push through one of these crap generated studies because they're so bombarded with everything that they have to push through all of a sudden. Going from 4 to 196 studies in a particular niche area of the medical field is a huge uptick in the number of studies that have to be reviewed. Now, tie that into what we just covered, which is a replication crisis in software, where the studies that do get produced, maybe a quarter up to maybe 50%, if you're being charitable, can be replicated. And then let's put in this. Boffins warn that AI paper mills are swamping science with garbage studies. So this is a British university that is confirming the explosion of LLM generated research articles, which include inappropriate study designs and false discoveries based on data cribbed from the US National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey. So this is what we covered on the previous, whichever one I covered this on last week, but with a bit more detail. The surge in papers that look scientific but don't hold up under scrutiny. This is science fiction using national health data sets to masquerade as science fact. So the entire set of nutritional information for this is the niche, right? It's nutritional information using a data set, running AI through it, generating a scientific study, so to speak, submitting it for peer review, and then doing so in mass. It's only going to increase. The team identified and retrieved 341 reports published across a number of different journals. It found that over the last 3 years, there has been a rapid rise in the number of publications analyzing single-factor associations between predictors, independent variables, and various health conditions using the data set. And so you can see the confirmation of the number of studies done over the last few years. So this ties in to what we're talking about over here, where now you're going to have people who are going to take data sets like GitHub data sets, NPM data sets, all kinds of data sets, which often become the source of scientific studies in software. They're just going to run AI over it, and they're going to pump out all kinds of very shallow or just completely wrong scientific papers, quote unquote, submit them in mass, and we won't even be able to understand. We won't even be able to tell anymore what is a good scientific study or not. The only way that we're going to hold the line here is if we continue to have enough people running the peer review process who are willing to actually review and turn down every study that comes their way. Or, you could come up with all kinds of other scenarios that you could mitigate this risk, but it's not a small risk and it's not easy to mitigate. So this is quite the problem that we have in front of us, where we have a moving target with software scientific methodology, and then on top of that we have AI that can be used to create all kinds of just slop after slop after slop by the hundreds, by the thousands, for all kinds of things. And this was in particular only the nutritional aspect of the medical field. Imagine this in mass. So this does not instill much hope in me in the entire process. This is one of the things that I've been trying to play out here with the news articles and the academic studies that I go over that show how LLMs are, for the most part, not good for a vast majority of things that they're being used for. They have niche use cases, and that's about it. And the reason why is because people depend on them way too much. Like we had Ray on the YouTube side, as I was talking here, who has a Gen X 60-year-old boss who's telling Ray on YouTube to use as much AI as possible from now on. There's no thought going into it. What's really happening is that the people who promote AI heavily and don't think about the consequences, they're really self-reporting themselves as incapable of using their own brain. It's really just a way for AI to mask the fact that these people are not willing or don't know how to use their own brain. And so they're looking for AI to give them an out. Well, if AI can do the thinking for me, then I don't have to do the thinking. And people won't understand that I'm not using my thinking abilities. That's really what it is.